let's start with Mahesh from the end of the line. Let's begin. What is your view of? I mean, it's one of the most difficult parts of running a hotel after you've got the hotel running is to get the people and to make them into an asset. And if you can, there's nothing that is beyond what you can do. So begin.
Whole morning we've been.
It's one of the most places where you can do a lot of innovation. Is not really maybe not with technology, but with many other ways.
Yeah. So I think there's so much debate on human touch versus technology touch. And at hotels, we all know that people are an important asset. Saying that, the whole game is to see how you manage this whole talent. It's not about the people themselves, because I can take the same people and put it in another organization and they'll not be asset anymore. So it's about how you manage them, manage the whole employee piece, which includes how talent is recruited, how is kind of inducted into your system, how you manage their development, and even post-exit, what do you do with them. While they are staying, then employee engagement becomes very critical, because employee engagement then delivers what the customer delight is a direct proportion to what you engage with employees. Also, what's happening is, if you see the new set of employees, 80-90% of the employees, frontline employees, are millennials. The way they interact, the way they look at work is completely different than what it was. So organizations need to now look at how do you handle them. For them, my guys say that, for them, work is like a gig between weekends. It's like they come and just go. They used to look at bosses were bosses. Now their bosses are friends. So you have to be connected with them in a different way and kind of engage them. So I think in my view, it's not about them as assets. It's about organizations, what they do with those assets. And how you manage this whole piece and maximize their productivity.
You guys also have a very strong recruitment in differently abled.
Yeah, we have about 15% of our staff who are differently abled. And we are building a hotel which should launch in about 6 months, which is 100% run by differently abled. It's our belief that everybody is disabled in some form or the other. If you ask me 25 into 40 into 35 into whatever, I need a calculator. So I'm disabled in some form. Everybody is disabled in some form or the other. So we believe that they're also, and they do a fantastic job. For a certain kind of jobs, they do a fantastic job. So we believe that they are normal people with certain ability. So that's our piece. What we do is that everybody talked about attrition a lot. So attrition is going to remain because it's going to be very competitive. We can't pay more because our business models will go bust. So how do you kind of retain them? It's a difficult thing. So the first thing is, who do you want to retain? You have to kind of slice your teams and see who do you want to retain, who's important. So we have a very clear way, what is critical to customer, what is critical to business. We've segregated employees into 4 quadrants. And among these, we have high potential people, which we have assessed over a period of time, and super high achievers. Our attrition in this piece cannot be more than 2%. It has to be less than 2%. The remaining can be at 40%, it's not an issue. And it's also how you move these employees into this high potential segment, which about 25-30% of the employees need to be part of this high potential. That's how we manage our attrition, please. Plus, we are a young organization, fun. So we do a lot of things which are fun and engage with them, and that's which kind of translates to guest delight. So that's what.
Amit.
Sure. So, I represent an institute, Vedatya, that is a hospitality and a business management institute. We actually have worked with you guys. To answer the question, so I'll actually take a step back. I think I'll say 2 things in terms of solution, a potential solution. One is an industry-academic partnership. I think, so that's one thing. The second is, when there's a lot of attrition at all levels, it is also because students are coming in with wrong expectations. If you start with setting those expectations when they start their academic journey, and as they go through that, And when they do get employed, I think that's when the attrition will be lower as well. It's simple, garbage in, garbage out. So let me just elaborate on a little bit of both of these. In terms of industry-academic partnership, we today are an IHG Academy, an intercontinental hotels academy. In addition to that academic framework that they have, we went out to them and said, look, where are you guys struggling with finding the right people? They said, we don't find enough revenue managers. We took their job description, structured a program which had both a theory and an internship built into it. And we're now recruiting for multiple batches, and that satisfies their key need. This is an example, and we've taken this across not just a postgraduate program, but across skills and other aspects of it as well. So I think there needs to be a much stronger industry-academic partnership to take that forward, because at the end of the day, and mind you, I understand that there are financial pressures in the hospitality industry. The beauty of all of this is that there is no money out of a hotel's pocket, for the simple reason that when all stakeholders come on the same table, there is value created by the hotel in stating, look, we will validate this program, and they jointly certify that. It's a guaranteed internship for the student and hiring on merit, but we all know that hiring is a key problem, and therefore most of them get hired anyways. So that's the value that the hotel's bringing. An institution like us is saying, look, we do this well, we will recruit the students and deliver quality to you. For the student who was going to pay anyways, that is what they're coming in. They're going to pay an institution anyways. They're now paying in to say, look, now I am guaranteed or almost guaranteed a job. And therefore, there's value created for everybody, but there isn't any additional expense for a hotel. Similar model on a skill development. So we've now structured program for apprenticeship at a traineeship level and a skill level. So 6 weeks, 6 months, 3 years. I think this has only worked because we've gone out to our industry partners and worked with them. So an academic industry partnership is one aspect of it. The second is it's a simple rule of garbage in and garbage out. If students are coming in with the wrong expectations, that a hospitality industry is, standing here and looking pretty and not putting in the work, glamorous, then they are going to be disappointed. I know that the biggest attrition perhaps in the entry-level segment is in that first 1 to 2 years, and that's perhaps a big reason for it as well. But I think here is a place where I think, despite the financial pressures, I would encourage the industry to at least invest some part in a continuous training aspect of it as well. And I think, the money is there. It is just a matter of reallocating it. A simple question to ask is, when we walk into a hotel, a 5-star or otherwise, how many of us remember the painting or the chandelier or the tap? Right? If I ask all of you guys, hardly anybody will be able to recall that for the last room that they stayed in. But when they were at breakfast the second day, and if the waiter remembered, okay, you take a brown toast or your tea a certain way, you would remember it. And yet the cost of training that person is very little. And here's the point about the trade-off. The trade-off with respect to what is the hardware and the initial investment that you make with respect to a continuous training. So just these 2 points. Thank you.
Zubin, you are part of a hotel and a chain where there are a lot of employees who have very long careers. So how do you deal with getting everyone on the same platform? There are challenges. And once they come in, it's another game. So what do you do? How do you address this issue and get them to a level which you think, suits the guest that comes in?
I'll answer it in 2 parts. One is what we are currently, or what my experiences currently are in my current assignment. But I'll go back now a couple of steps as to what has been spoken till now. When I joined the hotel industry many years ago, it was always known that the hotel industry pays relatively low compared to any other industry, as it were, particularly in the services sector. But I recall my parents having to shell out not more than 4,500 rupees a year for a 3-year program, hotel management, from one of the reputed institutes. Joined the industry as a management trainee, starting salary of, I think, 1,800 for the first few months and then 2,500 rupees. Payback was relatively decent. I mean, you didn't feel that pinch. Today what happens is that 4.5 lakhs, 5 lakhs, a basic hotel school education in one of the nationalized institutes, and the private colleges it would be relatively higher. And hotels today have the luxury to be able to recruit entry-level jobs who are students from hotel management institutes. 10,000, 12,000, I could be off the mark by a few thousand, but that's it. What is the payback that student, the parents, etc., what are the expectations that the student has? And that's what comes to expectation versus what you're going to really get. It's a long-term payoff. So when I tell people who join, the new management trainees who join, or even the new associates who join, that I've been with ITC for 26 years, they look at me strange. So I don't know if it's a thing that I should be really telling them proudly, or because they think that, my God, what a loser. He's probably here for 26 years because he didn't get a job anywhere else. But so the thinking and the mindsets have changed entirely. Today I'm heading a hotel that's been around for 39 years. I've got employees who have been working in that hotel for 39 years, and at the same time I've got freshers joining in every month. We've got a huge level of attrition. Now you talked about those key roles which you want to stick, keep them 2% and the rest. But the fact is your people in the front line are the ones who are turning over so often and so rapidly. How do you manage those guys' aspirations? You have an annual day in which there's a lot of fun, frolic, and you say, oh wow, look at the team, young team. But you've got 60% of the hotel who are somewhere in the back or not even present in that event because they can't relate to it. Next month or next week, we do a long service award, kind of a recognition for people who've been working 25, 30 years plus. So how do you give these guys expectations or take care of their expectations, as it were? How do you make them equally relevant, the guys who've been there for 35 plus years and the guys who've just joined you last week? How do you make sure that their roles remain equally relevant in the scheme of things? And the guests who come in do not really perceive such a stark difference in the way that the services are rendered. These guys who've been around for those 30, 35 years have served the parents of the guests who are walking in today, and they know them since then. Whereas the other guy is absolutely clueless, unaware of the sensitivities of the who's who, etc., which particularly exists here in Delhi. But that's where we have to have a robust enough training program. We have to have a very, very strong induction program. How do you reduce that cycle of the induction? How do you get a mentorship or buddy system going which is actually meaningful, which adds value to that kid who's just come in and joined, and at the same time ensuring that those who've been around for so long don't look at these guys as a threat, but look at them as an asset. So it's not just the hotel and the management looking at the employees as an asset. I'm talking about even we have to ensure that the employees look at each other as an asset to help them grow or help them succeed, or at the end of the day, help the hotel do well. So that's where it comes in from, and it can only come when there's also a strong sense of ownership.
Did you join the industry for the glamour?
I'll tell you why I joined the industry separately.
Biswajit, your hotel, the Sofitel BKC, is known for its service levels. So how did you put it all together, and how did you make them such great assets, all your employees? I've met them, and they all have a certain level, and I'm quite impressed by them.
Okay, before I come to that, I'd like to, if you look at this topic which we're talking about, where turning people into assets. Personally, for me, the word human resources, calling people an asset or a liability, it doesn't sort of go well in my mind because all of us constitute a lot there. Human beings, as we look at, we undergo biorhythms every day. It could be an emotional high, physical low, whatever. And I think as managers, be it Indian companies or multinationals, down the ages, whether it's his hotel 39 years or my hotel only 4 years, human sensitivity are key to partially answer your questions. And today, all of us with technology, and there's so much, when Dilip spoke, there's so much being driven by technology, which includes human beings, all stakeholders. Somewhere down the line, we do forget sensitivity. We forget to sit with a young management trainee to just ask, are you happy? What are your aspirations? So I think that is one of the key, now to coming to your question, Sofitel as a brand in the Accor stable, which is a luxury brand, has always called its people ambassadors from top to bottom. An ambassador represents your country. So that is the kind of dignity we sort of give our people. Obviously, there are structured programs. We have programs where they become managers, they get into leadership roles. There's a GM pass, there's a hotel pass, and there's a lot of international postings. It's a gigantic machinery at play. An international company also insists on training, certification, monitoring. But on a day-to-day basis, I think what I would do, 4 or 5 things which has helped me and how we've been successful, is finding the pulse of each human being walking into our doors every day, be it guest or our ambassador. Starting with their basic facility. In a city like Bombay, where they commute for hours, they work on an average 10 hours, 11 hours, whatever, and then they're commuting. There's 13, 14 hours away from home. Waking hours a few, again back to work. There is fatigue, so you've got to, a simple thing like make the cafeteria like a restaurant virtually. An international chef comes for a week, he performs at the cafeteria. The employee communication has to be participative. It has to bring in emotion. It has to bring in their achievements. It has to be mailed to their family back home, Everybody has general manager roundtables, but it's got to be done with a difference where you connect, where you, within 24 hours, get back to them that this can be done, this cannot be done, give them a pat on the back for something you've implemented. And you've got to make sure they feel a part of the think tank. It just doesn't stem top down, it's bottom up and even the middle. Of course, we sort of engage like a lot of hotels do. We have houses within the hotel where, like back in school, the houses compete all year long in terms of games and quiz. So that is a mix of various departments in each house. So there's bonding, so housekeeping is not at the throat of rooms, and so it all merges. At Accor, I'm also a part of the Accor ExCom for India. So our focus is people. We've been voted amongst the top employers year on year with Great Place to Work. And yeah, we were actually number 8 when Google was number 1. So globally, our CEO, Sebastian Bazin, is, we're looking at even, the gender ratios where we want to up the ladies working with us globally. But I think the key is sensitivity and recognizing that a human being comes into work every day and how do you connect. I think that is where I would concentrate on.
Thank you. Jayanta, you are in skill training. So how do you address the gap between aspiration and the actual skill of the person, and how do you bring that up? Because especially in our country, our aspirations for a lot of people, and freshers especially, are way beyond what their skill actually is, which is something which a lot of hotels deal with when new people come in. So how do you deal with it?
I'll just, to briefly focus on what you said, because we are headed for lunch after this, I guess. So don't
Everybody's hungry.
We are basically operating around 27 to 30 centers in the Northeast itself, apart from the main cities. And apart from a lot of other crazy things, like we train in bamboo farming and we train in financial services, we also train in tourism and hospitality, specifically in the Northeast. And some of our centers are as difficult as, for example, 2 of our centers are a 16-hour road journey from Aizawl, which is the capital of Mizoram. And it's a 200-kilometer journey, but it takes 16 hours. And we have kids over there who have never seen even a town 2, category 2 or category 3 city, ever in their life. And going and training them in the tourism and hospitality sector, where you have to groom them and you have to train them and you have to, normally lots of aspects and all. Thankfully, most of our trainings are paid by the government, so the immediate question of the students paying up doesn't happen because they are really from economically backward or BPL families, to be very precise. So as a small pilot, we did 110 students, and this is an interesting part which comes in for the hospitality sector. And in one of these conferences, I met a person from Taj Cochin who looks after training and hiring and things like that. And I just happened to tell him that we have a really exuberant bunch of kids, boys and girls, 110 in number in Mizoram, and they've just completed their 300 hours of training. That's their government hours. Would you like to check on them? And so obviously he didn't jump to the offer, but he said, I would like to go. I said, it'll take you a long time. You have to spend at least 2-3 days. And from Cochin to Aizawl itself is a hell of a journey to make. You have to stop over in one of the cities and things like that. So then he called me up after a week or so and he said, okay, Jayanta, I'll take maybe 5 or 6 of them just as a pilot and, just to find out how they are and all. Because see, these guys, really backward areas and they've never even seen a, proper building, forget a hotel, like a Taj property or something of that sort. So this gentleman came with us and we motivated these kids. We told them, this is a big opportunity. Even if 3 of you land up in a property like Taj after 300 hours of training, it's a huge opportunity for all of us. And from the villages which they come, it's also a showcase for them, The very aspect of what we were discussing over here, can they be turned into an asset? So after 2 days of speaking to those groups, and this gentleman took all the effort to introduce the group to them, and of course they all have heard of Taj, the properties and things like that. So from 6, he finally ended up taking 34 kids. And this happened as late as January end. So once they came back, mainland China immediately, they heard the news from somewhere. They went back over there. They picked up another 40. So out of this 110, 120 from my third batch, over 75, 80 are already placed in these places in the last 4 to 6 weeks. As a feedback, they are doing phenomenally well. We are happy the hotel industry, specifically over here, has come in and pitched forward to give them the opportunity. I mean, I just heard him to speak of, specially able people been getting a chance. I stay in Vasant Kunj. The Vasant Kunj KFC has got people who can't speak, they're deaf and dumb. But they are doing a phenomenal job out of the whole branch. So I guess what's important is to address the industry to come forward and have some confidence in these people. Now, if I roll back the same thing to Delhi, where I've just started a pilot, and we've trained 30 people from the slums. They have done really well, and we brought in Adobe and Sodexo last week to pick them up. All of them got jobs. But unfortunately, as I was speaking, 18 of them have rejected the job offers. So the difference between a city and from people from the remote areas and their aspiration levels, where they want to work in, what they want to give in, I think it keeps on varying and it's very difficult to put them into a set pattern. But what does happen is, what we found out through our experience, the deeper we go away from these big cities or maybe the Tier 1, Tier 2 cities, there's a very strong urge to work, to deliver more and to do something good or better. Even if they've not heard, they may have never been entering into a hotel, but the performance levels are phenomenal. I mean, we have a solid team of, these, our own staff members who actually go and visit these restaurants and hotels to see how they're doing, whether they're gelling or not. Because for them, gelling with the normal set of employees is also a challenge, apart from working over there. And there has been some initial problems, which is fine. I mean, they're coming from northeast and they don't settle immediately, like a duck would do to the water. I think that's part of the teething problems. But the overall feedback of this 75, 80 kids from my first batch has been phenomenal. The government has showcased this as one of their, highlight examples of what a little bit of training, a little bit of aspirational level, and the industry coming in and helping them grow in their own organizations can do wonders across the country. And I have been listening to the last 2-3 sessions. I've been listening to Zubin also. I guess all of them said that attrition is a problem somewhere or the other. And I guess the more we broad base out from ourselves, from the cities to the Tier 1 to the Tier 2, even to the smallest or poorest of the districts in India, I guess there are opportunities where you can pick up people and convert or create them into assets into our own organization. That's where, the Sofitel example, which he quoted us, comes in. How as a brand, you're inspiring, or maybe his example.
So what I'm saying is, I didn't know this. We have, currently we have 3,000 rooms. We are going to 7,000 in the next 2 years. So we will need about 4,500, 5,000 people in the next 2 years as capacity. I'm committing that we'll take all you guys from wherever you're getting
I think there's some more offers are coming
But
up.
if someone is
Are
thinking
you going to raise the offer now?
our placements are completely free. We don't charge the companies.
Economic
Free
disability.
placement.
Yeah, we don't charge the companies. Right?
No,
The
no,
government
economic
pays for the training.
disability is also a disability because I think half of India
It's a
is
huge
disabled
disability,
in
yeah.
that sense that they don't have the opportunity to, because they are they didn't have the opportunity to study, or parents did not have opportunity
And
to
you know,
teach them.
the most shocking part is some of them have studied only till class 6 or 7. You know, I mean, they are 20-year-olds.
So here's my question. Now, therefore, that means that the industry is doing a full cycle. It's done a whole. What happened is, when I'm talking about a hotel like ITC Maurya or ITC Mughal, both places where I've spent time, people joined exactly the same way. No classes or anything. They were put into that white shirt, black pant and bow tie, and they were made to do the job. Someone went into housekeeping, someone went into stewarding, service, etc., etc. We got 12 standard pass for the front office and maybe graduates, and we ran the show. They stayed back. They were the most loyal employees because their livelihoods depended on that job, unlike the ones today. So what is the purpose and what is going to happen to the hundreds of students, thousands of students being churned out of institutes of hotel management?
Competition.
So is it counterproductive? Because the industry, let me tell you, we love them because they speak English, etc., at the best of times. But the fact still remains is that there are thousands of them joining out, and we say that we are going to, there's also the Hunar Se Rozgar program, there's the apprenticeship programs, there are various ITIs, etc., that are also doing hotel management programs like yours, which are fabulous. And let me tell you, hotels love them. Look at that. You've already got a customer here. But the fact is, now what? So how are we going to deal with that disparity?
See, I do believe there will be a spectrum where you have this hotel management institutes, focusing on a particular level of management requirement for the hotels. And I guess the top 3 or 4 oldest hotel management institutes in India cater to almost the whole hospitality senior management staff as of now, as we speak. But the far end or the other end of the spectrum, where I said, and the previous panel spoke of how the government is investing very heavily for the bottom of the pyramid sort of a requirement. I mean, your waiters, your housekeeping staff, and things like that. I guess there is scope and room for everyone. But what's severely missing is somewhere down the line, I guess there is a strong synergy required to what exactly the industry wants, what exactly the government is ready to support for, and what exactly the students aspire to do. In terms of aspiration level, everyone has got good aspirations depending on where he's coming from. The village guy from Mizoram, his aspiration level is maybe, to buy a small house there and settle down and to show his other villagers, see, I work in some brand or the other. But as I said, my Delhi city kids, they're also from slums. None of them work. And sitting in a city and rejecting job offers. It's not that they were being given peanuts or they were told to work some 18 hours. They are being given free stay, they are being given free food, and they are given a salary of 11,000, which I think is fantastic for a fresher who is hardly class 8 or 10 pass. And it's a multinational. It is a Sodexo they were going to work in. Still, they have refused jobs. So I guess something there is.
I think you're making a point which is a far larger point from the actual topic of the what we're talking about is making the people into assets. You're saying about social inclusion. I mean, if you go into that, then...
No, I'm not. I'm just focusing on the huge diametrical difference we have across the dynamics in both ends of the spectrum, because right from hotel management institutes to...
I agree with you, but that's also a nature of the service industry as well.
Yeah.
That they will...
Can't deny that.
I have a point now, making people into assets, just like we as hotels, employers, top management look for ROI, Similarly, the generation waiting to get employed also look for an ROI in their career span, be it at the rural or smaller towns or bigger, whatever. So the train has to meet somewhere. People's expectations, our expectations. So that's how, when you're on the common platform, that's how you have a win-win asset situation. And I think it has to be, since brands, owners have the actual assets in hand, the power, they have to stretch forward to customize for the next generations after generation as they would take
It's
them
not
forward.
even that. Every month in India, 6 million people become adults.
Yeah.
They turn 18 and they're into the job
Exactly.
market. 6 million
And
every month.
I think there is enough, coming to what Zubin was saying, that where would the structured people go to? Yes, there is a lot happening besides hotels, other institutions, Airbnb, you need caretakers, you need a lot happening is happening in the hospitality space at every level. So I think there is enough for everybody with the investments, growth, Make in India. I think it'll even out, is what I feel, both the structured and the unstructured thing. But yeah.
Okay.
Amit, yeah.
To your point as to what will happen with the existing hotel management institutes, these are IHMs in the world. Look, the economy is playing, the market forces are playing themselves out, and it's the same thing that will happen to the kingfishers of the world. If you do not service what is the industry's requirement in the case of an institute, of course, placement is a key issue, but student is a customer as well. With the trend of bottom of the pyramid training with skills and apprenticeship, I mean, I know for a fact I was in a room once and we had a babysitter and she ended up reading my son's English book. So I got curious. I'm like, what have you studied that you're able to now read an English book? She says she's an IHM graduate, spent 3 years, paid whatever 3-4 lakh rupees, and is now working in housekeeping. And there you have programs like the NSDC skill development. I mean, ideally, she should have paid maybe 10,000 rupees, a 6-week job, and she would have been working. The point is that when you have these kind of alternative courses, an IHM, if all that any hotel management graduate offers is a job as a housekeeper, after 3 years, those institutes will go out of business, which is a good thing. So I think the whole nature of, and the other thing is the whole regulation with the academic industry as well, which is a whole other topic, that it needs to be deregulated so that there are quality players who talk to the industry, come up with industry-specific solutions and take those forwards. So unless you evolve, like in any industry, in academics as well, unless you evolve to offer value, you will go out of business.
The
last point was
Yeah.
that we discussed about. It's a question of what you can afford and what is the trade-off for each brand, right? If you are spending 20-25% on your payroll costs and you're getting a GOP of 30%, 35%, that's 1.25 times of your spend that you're putting, for every bucks that you spend on payroll, you're getting 1.5 times into your GOP. When it becomes 50%, then you will think of spending a little more. You're wanting to get more. So it's a question of whether you can survive that or not, because the profit per employee is the same for the last 8 years. India's profit per employee from hotel industry is the same. So you need to figure out, what is the trade-off for each brand? That's my...
I'm going to thank my panel now. And are there any questions? Questions? I think everyone is hungry. Anyone? Questions? Yeah. Mandeep. Yes, Mandeep.
So I'm going to ask you this question because I think in the panel I see you're the one who has the legacy hotel here. The newer hotels probably have a different scenario because they've hired people more recently. So is it good or bad to have people working for 29 years?
In ITC, you're saying?
39.
Sorry, 39.
It's fabulous. But you have to engage them and utilize them well. Otherwise, it can be counterproductive.
So I think
Having them
in
there.
terms of
So
diversity...
How do you recognize them? How do you make them feel special? And at the same time, ensure that you utilize them to try and pass that legacy on to the next generation.
Sure. But I think you should change your long service award from 25 years to 5 years, Zubin. That's about what it's going to be
Few years from now,
in
absolutely.
the current world.
It's going to be a celebration. 5 years is going to be a celebration.
I think the diversity, just to make a very quick point.
Lemon Tree celebrates 1 year completion.
Wonderful, Mahesh, well done. But I think, the whole point which I think Zubin also came up with is that, somewhere with the inclusion, of various social strata. When we joined the industry, and probably I joined a little before you did, Zubin, people who joined the industry were very happy at the entry level to be working in a hotel, to get a uniform, to get a free meal, and to be in
50% wale.
in the environment, and their aspiration levels were very, very different from the aspiration levels of people who join at entry levels today. The whole world has moved on, and therefore, the whole, the paradigm has shifted, and the way you'll have to deal with these people, as against the way you'll have to deal with the ones who've stayed 39 years, is going to be very, very diverse. And I think that's where the challenge is.
Nowadays, you can score 90% and not get into hotel management. Yeah. I mean,
Okay, the reason why I got into hotel management,
you
or
got
hospital-
50%. 55, chalo, touche. I think that's a...
That was the cutoff.
Okay, the cutoff. You made the cutoff, all right. Thank you very much to the panel,
just
and I
one
think...
last question.
yeah, last question. Come on.
Yeah, this question is to manage Generation X and Generation Y differently in the hotel.
Generation Z is also coming
Generation
up now.
Z is also there, right? So the point is not about, one size fit all. I think we need to have, I guess, and I'm in between, right? In terms of,
X,
looking
Y, and
at-
Z.
whatever. So how you are doing it differently in the hotel industry when you're managing your talent and your people there? Just if you can just give me some idea on that.
Yes.
So I think 90% of our guys are millennials who are working with us. That is because we're a young company, right? So they have a different kind of thought process. As I was telling you, they look at work as a gig between weekends. It's just, just enjoy yourself. The way they look at money is different. Meaning they want to earn to spend. Earlier in our generation, it was earn to save. So you have to speak to them in their language. They are very technologically connected. Like I have all my future leaders as a WhatsApp group. I'm connected with them. You have to be in touch with them at the same level. There is no level differences that these guys see. In terms of technology, they know better than us. So you'll have to take their inputs. We take their inputs, get them together and say, you tell us, teach us, what do you want us to do? Because slowly we'll all become dinosaurs in technology. These guys are very good in what they can do. Also, work-life balance. See, for many of us in the hospitality industry or the hotel industry or this industry in specific, work used to be life. For them, work is part of life. It's not life altogether because they have the entire spectrum of them is work is part of it, right? And so they're okay with going at 5 o'clock here. So if you go at 5 o'clock here, 5 baje nikal gaya yaar. For them, 5 o'clock is off. Yeah, that's it. That's all I do because I have other things, other priorities in my life. So I think hotels, also the way hotels draft communication to the newbies. Sometimes I've seen hotels written stuff that even I can't understand. What kya likha hai, policy kya likha hai, they don't understand all this stuff. You have to tell them, bro, this is what it is. So in our company, we are like anybody can access anybody. Anybody can access Patu, anybody can access me. We access each other. When we go down, we meet people on the floor. We have a chai, we have a drink, whatever the case may be. I think the guys want to be seen as equals. And then he will come for advice. I think I also realized that the newer kids are a little more sensitive than the previous lot. And I think they've been brought up like that, right? The new millennials have been brought up a little comfortably. So you tell them something, they can go into a shell very quickly. So you need to realize when you're speaking to you have to, we are all coming to the hotel. I'm connected. Kya bol rahi hai? So we have to be careful about what we are dealing with this because I think you need to, basically it's about getting into the skin of these guys and not organization kind of changing their behavior towards these people because they're a different kind and you need to be part of them to kind of get the best out of them, right? So, and plus fun. I think they love to have fun and I think organizations need to be part of having fun every day and not on a one annual day or something. Every day needs to be something new and it can be very impromptu and natural. It need not be a forced stuff that you're doing that isko plan karna hai aise. It can be, I saw a video of the Grand Hyatt which was going around. I was saying, wonderful man, a Grand Hyatt, I would have never imagined so many years back that a Grand Hyatt, that too for what is that song? Tune Mari Entry. So at Tune Mari Entry in a Grand Hyatt lobby employees dancing. That's the way forward. That's the millennial. They don't bother about what is. So
Zubin, ITC Maurya. Tune Mari Entry. There must be maybe some hip breaking and things like that also. And you calling someone bro.
So
KL
I think-
Cycle is a better song, yes.
So I think there is some changes that are happening, and we need to realize this and get along with what they want.
My learning when I'm going to corporate and doing my work, I think it's about breaking the boundaries and less of discipline and allowing them to be creative in their work. I think most of the process-oriented, I've seen, the challenge is how far we should be process-oriented and how far we should be having freedom to express creative in our work. I think we can have that balance, I guess it helps manage.
Perfect, other than less of discipline. You cannot let go of discipline in this industry. You can be casual to an extent, you can be hip, you can be, bro, but that discipline is...
You can leave at 5 o'clock.
You can, well, 5.
Don't tell this to your employees.
No, you can leave at 5 o'clock provided everything's done. But discipline is something you cannot take for granted here. That's my view. Anyway.
That's the new millennials' problem about discipline. They don't believe in that because they're very creative, and creativity and discipline sometimes I think they don't go together, I guess.
This is where automation helps.
Yeah,
When you
so
get a
that's
robot.
where automation helps. Also, they quit very fast. If you don't give them the opportunity, they'll say, "What next here? What's in it for me? What's next? Come on, move on." So we'll have to plan it accordingly and give them growth, at least in terms of learning or in their job content. The job design need to be very clear because what is their strength? They want to play their strengths, and certain jobs they are good at, certain jobs they are not good at. So you can't give them the job that they are not good at. So it's a challenge, but we need to work around that whole problem.
I think, thank you, everyone.